All right, everyone, welcome back. We're diving into the world of influencer marketing today. And let me tell you, things are about to get interesting,
Yeah, we're going beyond the surface level with this one.
way beyond. We're digging into a research paper called El Marketing a través de las redes sociales.
Yeah.
It's not just a basic explainer.
Right, it gets into some really fascinating stuff.
It does. Like, we're talking about the origins of influencer marketing, how effective it really is, even the regulations surrounding it. It's a deep dive for a reason.
And what's really cool is how it ties all of this back to the bigger picture of marketing strategy.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
So it's not just about like getting a celebrity to hold up a product. It's about understanding how consumer behavior has changed and how social media has evolved.
Okay, so where do we even begin with all of that?
Well, get this. The paper actually traces the idea of influencers all the way back to opinion leaders from like the 1950s.
Wow, really? I wouldn't have thought of that connection.
Right. It makes the point that this isn't some brand new thing. It's more like an evolution of something that's always been a part of how we as humans operate.
That's so true when you think about it. Like, even before social media, there were always those people in your life whose opinions you really valued.
Exactly. And what social media did was give those people a much larger platform.
It's like it amplified their reach exponentially. But here's where I think things get really interesting. The paper argues that influencer marketing is actually more effective when you think about it in terms of building relationships,
Oh, yeah.
as opposed to just straight up advertising.
It's all about trust and authenticity, which are things that have always been important in marketing even before social media.
Right, like if someone you trusted recommended something to you, you were way more likely to check it out.
Exactly. And that's what effective influencer marketing taps into, that feeling of getting a recommendation from someone you trust,
Yeah,
even if it's through a screen.
makes sense. So speaking of trust and community, the paper talks a lot about millennials. They were like the first generation to really grow up with social media, right?
Right. They were the early adopters,
Yeah.
forming online communities and consuming content in ways that nobody had ever seen before.
And they were doing all of this before most marketers even knew what was happening.
Exactly. And that's where things get interesting, because the paper makes a point of saying that millennials didn't just adapt to this new digital world, they shaped it.
They were the trendsetters, for sure.
Their behavior forced businesses to completely rethink how they connect with customers, because the old ways just weren't working anymore.
So basically, millennials were the beta testers for this whole influencer marketing thing without even realizing it.
Pretty much. And their impact on the industry is huge. Marketers had to adapt or risk becoming obsolete, and influencer marketing was one of the solutions that emerged from that need to connect with consumers in a new way.
Okay, so we've talked about how influencer marketing is really about relationships and how millennials had this huge impact on how it all works. But now I kind of want to know, how does it actually work? Like, are there different types of influencers?
You're totally right, and the paper gets into that. And it's more than just, this influencer has 1 million followers, this one has 10,000. They actually break it down into different roles influencers play.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so what kind of roles are we talking?
They identify 5 main ones: inspirers, collaborators, celebrities, amplifiers, and critics. And what's cool is that it's not like you're just one of these things. One influencer could be a mix depending on what they're promoting or who they're working with.
That makes sense. It's more like a spectrum.
Exactly. And understanding these different roles is so important for businesses because it helps them find the right influencer for what they're trying to achieve. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Okay, I'm hooked. Break it down for me. What's an inspirer?
So inspirers are all about, well, inspiration. They motivate their audience, encourage them to pursue a certain lifestyle or mindset, that sort of thing. Think wellness gurus, motivational speakers, that kind of vibe.
Okay, so they're selling a feeling and aspiration.
Exactly. Then you've got collaborators, and these are influencers who actually work directly with brands, often behind the scenes, to develop products or content.
Oh, so they're really involved in the creative process.
Totally. And their followers really trust their judgment and input. Then, of course, there are celebrities. That one's pretty self-explanatory.
Big names, big followings, instant recognition.
Right. But don't underestimate the amplifiers. They might not be creating their own stuff, but they're amazing at spreading the word. They see something cool, they share it with their massive network, and boom, exposure.
It's like that friend who shares everything on social media.
Exactly. And even though they might not be the original source, their shares introduced your brand to a whole new audience.
That's so true. Okay, and then there are the critics. Are those the ones who do the reviews?
Yes. And this group can be really powerful because their opinions carry a lot of weight. especially within a specific niche. People trust their judgment, whether it's a rave review or a scathing critique.
It's like the difference between a restaurant getting 5 stars or 2 stars on Yelp.
Exactly. And this actually ties into something the paper talks about a lot: authenticity.
Ah, yes, that buzzword. But seriously, what does it actually mean in the context of influencer marketing?
It means being genuine, being real. Because here's the thing, people can spot a fake from a mile away. If an influencer is just going through the motions, promoting something they don't actually care about, their audience will know.
So it's not enough to just check the paid partnership box anymore.
Nope, it has to go deeper than that. And the paper actually uses this Spanish fashion influencer, Maria Pombo, as an example. She's known for being super transparent about her brand partnerships.
So she's not trying to hide it or pretend like she just happens to love this random product.
Exactly. She's upfront about it, but she also only works with brands that she genuinely uses and believes in.
So it's about alignment. Her personal brand and values have to align with the brands she promotes.
Exactly. And that's what builds trust with her audience. They know she's not just in it for the money, she actually stands behind the products she recommends.
Okay, so we've talked about the different types of influencers and how important authenticity is, but now I'm curious about the business side of things. Like, how does all of this actually work?
Well, that's where influencer marketing agencies come in. There's this whole ecosystem most people don't even realize exists.
It's like a whole industry in itself.
It really is. And agencies play a huge role in connecting brands with the right influencers for their campaigns.
So it's not just a matter of like sending a DM and saying, hey, want to collab?
No, not at all. These campaigns are strategically planned and managed from start to finish.
The paper actually gives an example of an influencer marketing briefing, and it was surprisingly detailed.
Oh yeah, it's not as simple as just sending free products and hoping for a shout out.
So what kind of things are included in a briefing?
Well, first you have to define your target audience. Who are you trying to reach with this campaign?
Right, because not all followers are created equal.
Exactly. And then you have to figure out what you want to achieve with the campaign. Are you trying to increase brand awareness, drive traffic to your website, boost sales of a specific product?
And I'm guessing you have to be able to measure all of that, right?
Absolutely. You need to have clear metrics in place so you can track the success of your campaign.
It's so much more than just counting likes and comments.
Way more. And that's something the paper emphasizes, aligning your campaign goals with measurable outcomes.
Okay, so this is what everyone wants to know. How much are influencers actually getting paid for all this?
It varies wildly. Some micro-influencers might be happy with free products or a small fee.
Especially when they're just starting out, that makes sense.
Right. But then you have those top-tier influencers who can command thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars for a single post.
Wow, that's a lot of money. So it really depends on your reach and influence.
Exactly. And the paper also touches on the legal side of influencer marketing, specifically Spain's regulations.
Oh, yeah, I was curious about that. What's the deal with Spain?
They're very strict about transparency. Influencers are legally required to disclose when a post is sponsored.
Which seems fair because nobody likes to feel like they're being tricked into looking at an ad.
Right. Transparency is key for building trust, both for the influencer and the brand they're working with.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on something else the paper highlighted. The role of the community manager.
Ah, yes, the unsung heroes of the influencer marketing world.
They really are. What exactly does a community manager do?
Well, they're the ones who manage a brand's online presence, interact with followers, respond to comments, answer questions, that kind of thing.
So they're basically the voice of the brand online.
Exactly. They're building relationships, fostering a sense of community, and making sure everyone feels heard.
It all goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Relationships, authenticity, and building trust.
You got it. And without a good community manager, even the best influencer marketing campaign can fall flat.
Wow, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from the history of influencer marketing to the nitty-gritty of how it works behind the scenes.
It's a fascinating world, and it's only getting bigger.
It really is.
Yeah.
And as social media continues to evolve, it'll be interesting to see how influencer marketing adapts.
Absolutely. Who knows what the future holds, but one thing's for sure. It's never a dull moment in the world of digital marketing.
That's for sure. Well, on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating world of influencer marketing.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time.